Hello and welcome back to another episode of Bantz with Lawrencia. How are you all doing? I hope you're doing great. For today's episode, I want to talk about PSquare's Money Palaver. Now, PSquare is one of the biggest group out of Nigeria and possibly out of Africa. PSquare were those group that children dance to, the elderly dance to, like their song resonates with almost everybody. And they were invited by kings, queens, presidents, head of states. They were that big. PSquare had private jets when people like artists now fly private jets like luxury, but PSquare then it was a necessity for them because in fact presidents were flying them to different countries using their private jet because they were in demand. They were in that demand. PSquare made millions of dollars. They made money. And when their issue started, it also started with money issues. Now, PSquare is actually made up of three people. We have Jude Okoye, who is their manager. We have the twins, Peter and Paul Okoye. Now, these three people, they made up, they started in Jos. Initially, it was Jude Okoye that was the singer and the performer. But he took a back seat when PSquare burst out of nowhere, and they were twins. They were cute. They could sing. They could dance. They were that, young girls were screaming at them. Young guys want to be like them. So they were a dynamite from the beginning. Now, Jude Okoye, who had a record label, or he was a musician then, had to step back and manage PSquare. Now, that management made a whole lot of money, a whole lot of hits, and when people started noticing that problem was happening was when, I think in 2010, 2011, when Rude Boy, who is Paul Okoye, made a tweet saying that he wrote 99% of the song, or is it 90% of PSquare's song? And Peter never said anything because, then Twitter was not what it is today. But everybody ran with the story. Now, later on, we started hearing, Paul started granting interviews here and there where he talks about, because he was now being asked about, writing 90% of the song. And then Peter was now relegated to the dancer because Peter can dance. Peter is the entertainer, like he's the all-round entertainer. Yes, he doesn't sing that much, but without Peter, there's no Paul. And without Jude Okoye, I don't even know if there will be PSquare. So these three people were a very good combination together. Now, when Paul, Rude Boy, started claiming that he wrote 99% of the song, obviously the fans, at that point, I don't think anybody cared because people were just happy that they could, attend PSquare concerts, buy their music. There was like, these people had hits upon hits upon hits. Dance hall, reggae, the love song, name it, PSquare had it covered. Now, when Rude Boy made that tweet, people started asking questions like, okay, how is the sharing formula? Since you wrote 90% of the song or 99% of the song, how do you guys share your money? And then news surfaced that they actually split the money three ways. So Peter was not happy about it because Peter has always been the business guy. He's an Igbo man. I think Rude Boy was kind of doing family things. Let's split everything. Let's everybody have the same thing. But Peter was like, Jude Okoye is not part of the group. We are the ones singing, dancing, rehearsing, traveling everywhere. Why would he take, the same amount of the share that we're getting? So I think they kind of shared 45 for them, and then Jude gets the larger share, so because he's the elder brother. So Peter was not happy about the whole thing, and then Peter constantly talks about it. At some point that broke the group up, and then people started accusing the wives because people thought it was actually the wives that were behind the problem with the group, because there's always something online. You see that Peter is saying something or Paul is saying something. Jude has never said anything. I give him credit for that. He has never said anything. So there were speculations about Jude's involvement in the issues within PSquare, but Jude never addressed it or, denied, or, he just stayed mute in the whole thing. Now, recently, everybody was happy because they broke up, and then Peter continued with his life, started doing music. Paul also continued with his life, started doing music. He left his wife, married Ifeoma right now. So I think everybody thought this group, they moved on. They even came together, did some shows. I think they made a song or something. But PSquare never regained that fame. PSquare never regained their position in the music industry, on the Nigerian music industry, because the likes of Davido, Ashake, Wizkid, Burna Boy, Rema, like we have the new cats, if you want to call them that. The new cats are actually killing it right now. So Peter and Paul, or PSquare as we know it, nobody really cared about what they were singing or what is going on with them. So now, right now, we're just sitting there minding our business, thinking Paul Okoye, Rude Boy, has gotten married to his love of his life, Ifeoma. Peter is into businesses. He's doing so many businesses right now. Jude Okoye is married with 3 kids. So we thought, there's peace in the Okoye's family. And then Paul granted an interview. Paul, which is Rude Boy, granted an interview because actually before then, Paul got married. And it was just a traditional ceremony, little wine carrying or paying of the bride price. But when pictures surfaced, Paul Okoye was not there. Jude Okoye was. The family members were not there. So people started speculating that although these people can be, putting a front that they are back together, actually there is trouble in paradise. Now, Rude Boy granted an interview talking about how there's been an issue in PSquare family. Peter Okoye used EFCC to arrest them, himself and Jude Okoye, talking about embezzlement. Like, I'm just going to play that video for you to see. Now watch this.
Now, this thing was happening like December last year.
Wow.
What happened this year? I was invited by the EFCC. A repetition against me and my other brother. And I did not expect, I never thought it would come to this part. I thought it was just music thing. Then next thing, people are telling me, what did you do? Somebody saying you're going to go to jail 20 years, they're going to lock you up. What did I do? Okay, I got there. Okay, what is it? They told me everything. They've already printed on my account statement, everything, put it on the table. Explain this. First of all, what entered my mind? What if I was a bad person? I'm even doing one dubious like a Yahoo boy. I said, this guy don't just finish me. But I took it. Then they started investigation. I was there. That was that the kind of question they started asking myself. I wasn't comfortable with them. I said, what is this? Then, when I knew it was a bit kind of serious, was when I said, you have to get the shorty, you have to get the lawyer, you have to get this. I said, what?
Whoa.
Okay? I did everything.
Whoa.
Then, what had happened? 1 month ago, they called me, they called him, they called other brother. Say, first of all, we have to say that after all investigation, Paul is innocent, first, and Paul is cleared. Everything you accuse him of, we've done an investigation now. And what was this thing? It's a lifestyle. I've worked so hard. I'm a very good business person. I save. So there's a difference between when you want to pay somebody and say, okay, he wants to buy this thing. How much 200k? Take blank check. Well, what about I don't buy? Put that from this my account. All of a sudden, he went back to claim something and took us to almost 2006-7. Then only for me to be excited, telling me, explain how you have 200, they gave you 200,000, did not give you. And then I start tracing it to where he bought a vehicle. And I already told him this is the reason. So now after they told you every time the truth came out that I was innocent, what would you do if you're doing? What the next thing you do? I'm sorry.
Simple.
I didn't know.
Simple. So there was no I'm sorry from your brother?
Never. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying it, but because the fact that this thing is on the EFCC and is already out in the public, otherwise, don't forget I still working with Bantz. If I don't clear it out, it will affect me.
Yep. Now, after this video surfaced, Peter, who is Mr. P, decided to reply. He said a whole lot of things. He kind of itemized his points. In fact, I don't even know where to start with what Peter said, but this has been issues. I think Gislove actually made similar allegations when this whole thing was heating up a couple of years ago. But one of the things, the major issue there is money. And according to Peter PSquare, he said that PSquare started with a record label which they use in managing their music and management company and all that. Before you could say jack, when things were happening or when things were going south with the payment arrangement, because remember what happened was the fact that they used to share everything equally among themselves, but Peter was one of the ones that said he is not going to share things equal with Jude Okoye because Jude is not the one singing, dancing, performing and everything. Now, Rude Boy Paul Okoye, which is his twins, is saying that he wrote 99% of the songs. So he doesn't understand why Peter is complaining, because if they should go by sharing formula, like, okay, we're no longer doing family, let's share sharing formula, then Peter himself will not be getting what he's claiming to be getting. Now, when all this whole conversation was going on, Jude Okoye's wife, obviously instructed by Jude, opened another record label very similar to the one that they were using, registered in her name, in her father's, the address was her father's house, and then that record label was now being used. Let's say instead of sharing three-way, what was now happening was that, okay, they settled that, okay, Jude, you'll be getting maybe 20% as a proper management company. But what was then happening was that the new company that was set up, Jude was now collecting he was still collecting his share through the back door. They will go share 20%, he will collect his 20%, and then 80% goes to the two of them. But from the back door, Jude was collecting royalties from the music. Jude was collecting so many things, because it was a family business. So I don't think, because they are billionaires, they are, okay, let me not say billionaires in naira, but millionaires in dollars, you understand? So I'm talking about hundreds of millions. Now, because Jude is now not getting what he was supposed to get, or what he thought he was supposed to be getting, he now opened that new company and was siphoning money through that company. So that was what Peter was explaining, that when he found out, he now actually filed a report against Jude and his wife, because the company was opened in his wife Ifoma's name and registered in her father's house. So he filed a complaint against Jude Okoye and his wife Ifoma. Now, when EFCC were now doing the investigation, they realized that some of the monies were paid to Paul Okoye. Now, and during the course of that investigation, Paul was invited to the station to give his own account. Peter was now saying that he never accused Paul of embezzling money, that it was actually Jude that was embezzling the money, and it was Jude that he filed a complaint against. But because during the course of the investigation, some monies was found, which according to him, when they actually carried out the proper investigation, they realized that it was one of the houses in Atlanta that Paul's house that Jude bought, but he didn't have, obviously he didn't have all the money. So what he was doing was siphoning money through the new company that was registered, collecting royalties, and he was now using that money to pay Paul Okoye. So that was what the EFCC found out, and then Paul was released. According to Peter, he never asked EFCC to investigate Paul. So when he was now released, he said that that was now what Paul was holding on to, that he was invited to the station. Now, the bottom line here is there is fraud going on, because Jude Okoye, being, I don't know, he's the other brother, thinking that he made them, because some of these things is actually entitlement. If you look at but then again, if the royalties, let's say, because when Jude was already kind of an established artist before PSquare started, so let's say he used all his investment, whether you want to call it knowledge or whatever, he put that into PSquare. And I'm very sure that the record label that was registered was also Jude Okoye's idea. If we look generally at the structure of a record label, let's say Jude Okoye is Don Jazzy, and he now signed Peter and Paul as PSquare. Now, if you look 10 years, 20 years down the line, who is going to own those records? It is going to be Don Jazzy, based on the contracts that were signed. But because this is a family business, there was no proper structure set in place. And then Paul was arguing about the shares that was given to Jude Okoye. I think this is why Paul, which is Rude Boy, didn't want to get involved in the whole thing, because these are family matters. But at the end of the day, fraud is involved. They could have sat down and had a proper conversation with Peter Okoye, which I think maybe happened, and Peter was not willing to listen to the whole thing. He just wanted things to be done properly. He just wanted a structure, and because it's a family business, nobody was willing to put that structure in place. Instead, Jude went behind the two of them to embezzle money. Is this the end of PSquare? That is the question that everybody is asking. This will be the end of an era, because PSquare, I mean, once a case gets to EFCC and it has come out now that Jude actually embezzled money through his wife, Ifeoma, it has gone from just allegations to confirmation of embezzlement and fraud. So I don't think there's going to be any. At the end of the day, these people have to figure out how they are going to share royalties, whether they like it or not, which maybe is going to happen now. But if you look at these two people, they've been blessed. They are millionaires in dollars and billionaires in naira. Now, I understand that, okay, you're fighting for royalties or you're fighting for monies for your children, because Jude Okoye, I don't think since after PSquare, I don't think he has done anything that brought, money to him, which may be why he was embezzling money. And Peter was not willing to entertain the fact that, okay, this was our elder brother. This was the person that actually discovered us and started this whole thing. So let's just keep sharing the money, because, listen, it just boils down to greed. Greed from Peter, greed from Jude. And the person stuck in the middle is Paul, who is saying that I wrote 99% of the song. If you're talking about sharing formula, then you shouldn't be getting anything. So I think it's the end for them, because I don't see any way that the three of them, whether Jude, Paul, Peter, are going to come back from this whole thing. There's been the end of a marriage of Rude Boy, and according to Peter, Rude Boy has disrespected his wife, his family, and everything. So I don't know. I think regardless of how you want to do business with family, I understand that, okay, maybe when you're starting, you wouldn't understand how far I don't think they ever imagined how far and how big PSquare was going to be. But now that PSquare has become what it is, they single-handedly has brought it down. I just hope for healing. I just hope for they should find somehow and resolve this matter. There should be lawyers involved, sharing formulas involved, like what everybody is getting. But since they realized that, okay, Jude embezzled money. Like Peter has so many houses in Atlanta. Rude Boy has so many houses in Atlanta. Now Jude, that was the brain behind the whole thing, I think he had to embezzle money to buy a house in Atlanta. So you can see, I mean, I don't know, this is family. I don't think money should have been that much of a problem, but this is the reality that we are living in right now. So let me know, do you think that Jude was treated right? Because if you look at the structure, he was actually the brain behind, he was the musician before PSquare, so he poured in that knowledge into them. He provided structure, management, pushed them to where the points that they are in today right now. But because of money, Peter wanted him out, and Rude Boy is saying that, oh, I wrote the songs, you're just a dancer, so if we're going to go by the formula, you should also be getting lesser than, you know, everything else. So let me know, how do you think this is going to be resolved? Do you think this is the end for PSquare, or do you think there's going to be kind of a light at the end of the tunnel where they will one day come back together and give us good music? Let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching today's episode. Today's episode is once again sponsored by DBC's Wigs. We sell wholesale, retail, and if you want to partner up with us in the project, we're happy to do that. Please subscribe to my channel, like, and share. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.